Welcome to the Aus Asia Business program with your host, Stacey Martin. Stacey brings together experts, ideas and information on how to navigate business opportunities in Asia.
Daja Hal. Welcome to the Aus Asia Business program. I'm Stacey Martin, and in the studio today I have Elaine Starkey. Elaine is the founder and CEO of Global Study Partners, who've developed an aggregation platform for international students called Studylane. Welcome to the show, Elaine.
Oh, thank you very much, Stacey. Delighted to be here.
Fantastic. So, Elaine, you've had an interesting career journey, which has resulted in you being in the international student market. So tell us a little bit about where you've come from and what you're doing now.
I'm delighted to share it with you, Stacey. Yeah, look, I started my life actually in Ireland in education. I was a high school maths teacher for HSC Maths, and from then I joined the travel industry at a time that travel was really a disruptive marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely.
Learned an awful lot in that time I worked in Ireland. Married an Aussie and moved to Australia, and I worked in a publishing business as a sales manager doing a lot of international publications, and then I went on and started my own international publication business called Starkey Smith Media, and from there I published a lot of industry publications for Austrade, and Austrade distributed them globally. So that was my entree into the international export market, a fantastic learning ground, and we published the Australian International Education and Training Guide, which was launched at the Shanghai Expo some years ago. And really from then on I had a real interest and passion for international education. I learned a lot about the market and saw the opportunity. So that's really where I started and how I got interested in the market.
Wow, so this education, international, all those things have been coming together over throughout your career. And then you decided to create this platform which helps us export the services in the education market. And education is such a huge part of this contributing to the Australian economy, isn't it?
Absolutely. Look, it's our second biggest exporter after resources,
right,
contributing $33 billion to the Australian economy. And, you know, it's growing. It's one of the few businesses industries that's forecast to double by 2025. So we're really excited about the growth opportunity and also really changing the marketplace and making those changes for international students coming to study here.
So tell us about the platform, because obviously people in another country, they're trying to work out which university or what courses or what's going to lead to migration. What did you see as the gap, I guess, with particularly the Chinese market in terms of finding the right direction for them to go?
Yeah, it's very difficult for international students deciding to study overseas to find the right university. Even for our own domestic students here, if they want to search and compare universities, compare costs, it can be really a traumatic journey. It's not easy. There's no standard display of information. So really wanted to create something to empower the global student recruitment channel, to offer the right courses, the right stock, the right information for students to be able to do a really quick search, compare and shortlist and apply to universities, to vocational, to English language colleges and even schools.
Wow.
From anywhere in the world, and really to anywhere in the world. We've started with Australia, but we're actually also recruiting students from Asia into US, Canada, Ireland and many other markets.
So they're not only just identifying the country, they can compare the courses across different jurisdictions.
Absolutely, and they can compare, you know, we notice, you know, from our heat map on our site, we notice that, you know, Nepalese students are very much motivated by cost, whereas Chinese students are very motivated by brand. So we need to have an offering of all of those courses and universities.
And Australia has some of the top universities in the world, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, and we've won 15 Nobel laureates from our university graduates and from research in our universities. And we really are, you know, top notch in our group of 8, even our mid-tier. And we have a lot of in the top 50, under 50 universities as well that, you know, sometimes get forgotten, but there's some fabulous courses on offer there.
So you would have had to get a lot of research done into the universities and the different services and comparisons and so on. So, you know, starting up your business, how did you get going to get some funding to produce this amazing platform?
Oh my God, Stacey, that's a good question. It has taken double the time and probably 10 times the wrinkles on me, really. You know, it's been a challenging journey. I really thought every university and college, you need to have a contract to recruit students for one. So we knew we needed, like the travel industry, like if you're in a hotels.com, you can't offer a 1-star or a 5-star. You have to have a comprehensive suite
Yes.
of universities, vocational, English language and schools. So we started with that, building really steady, solid foundations and having enough stock to make our offering really, really independent and comprehensive. And from there on, we built the platform. We pulled it down a couple of times. We learned a lot of lessons, as you do. And we changed it, pivoted, and, it's part of the journey. And look, we're so excited about now the platform we've released on the market today.
So we can look it up now.
Oh, absolutely. You can look it up. There's we've a student lead generation platform called Studylane, and we also have an agent channel, which is our main market, really. It's a B2B platform called Global Study Partners.
So Global Study Partners is what the university or the education provider would go on to, and Studylane is what the student will look at.
Absolutely. And the education agents use Global Study Partners as their booking platform. So what it is really is a booking platform for education agents and for anyone that has access to international students that wants to provide them with the right information and, and place them in a university or college overseas.
And one of the things you've done, you mentioned Austrade earlier. You've tapped into quite a bit of government support, not just from, getting exposure on the ground, because it is an export product, but also there's a few grants and initiatives that many of our listeners might not be aware of.
Absolutely. Look, I would say to any startup in Australia, you cannot underestimate the power and the importance of the Austrade support. There's so many business initiatives. There's a lot of hand-holding and a lot of market research. They've been there and done that with so many companies. We have tapped into the R&D grant when, once you qualify.
So the research and development grant.
It's a fantastic, and really, it really helps you scale your business. We've also the New South Wales government grant. We've applied to that at the moment. We applied to the Austrade New South Wales Export Awards last year. We were a finalist. And just having those logos and branding on your site, you're positioned different to any of your competitors going into a market like China. Straight away, it creates credibility for your business.
And winning awards, that's a great way to get brand, particularly for the Chinese market. They love to see that credibility, don't they?
They absolutely do. Absolutely.
We also, I might mention that Stephanie Fay, the current CEO of Austrade, has been one of our guests on the program. And she also talked about some of the landing pads, areas for startups across the globe. You've been involved in the Singapore landing pad?
We have. We're in that cohort right now, actually. And she's an amazing visionary, Stephanie, as we call her in Ireland, Fahy, but Stephanie Fay. Look, we are so delighted to be involved in the Singapore landing pad. It really is. It gives you access to a new market. The trade commissioners, the education team in Austrade, they hold hands with you. They set up your meetings. They do your introductions. They introduce you to VC funds if you're looking at raising capital. And we've signed up our first couple of institutions in Singapore. We have Curtin Singapore, SP Jain and James Cook University Singapore. And we've actually just started processing our first international students into Singapore universities. Wow. And that's all through the landing pad. And I'm excited. I'm going back there, I think, in 2 weeks' time to spend a week there. So really, these initiatives, they've landing pads in Tel Aviv and in Silicon Valley and many others worldwide. So I really would suggest to smaller companies that really want to grow into the Asian market or the global market to look at that initiative. Sometimes, look, the application process is tiring and it's painstaking. And you, as a startup, you're working 24/7 anyway, and you wonder, where can you get time to do it? But really, the benefits outweigh the effort it takes.
Fantastic. So you've been listening to Elaine Starkey from Studylane. So after the break, we'll hear a little bit more from Elaine about some of the opportunities going forward and hear how SMEs can tap into the growing education market and learn from some of your experiences.
Fantastic.
Aus Asia is taking a short break. If you'd like to sponsor this show or be part of Eagle Waves Radio, go to our website, eaglewavesradio.com.au and contact us. Hey Tess, don't you employ overseas staff and you've been thinking about expanding your business offshore?
Yeah, I have been.
And you have investors that are also considering moving to Australia?
I do.
So a registered migration agent could probably help you with the right visa solution.
But how do you find the right one?
Industry body Migration Alliance has over 4,800 registered agents.
What's the best way to contact them?
Email help@migrationalliance.com.au and you'll find a Mara registered agent right near you.
Cool.
And now, back to you, Stacey.
So welcome back, Elaine. Elaine Starkey is with Global Study Partners and Studylane here on the Aus Asia Business Program. So Elaine, you've been to quite a few countries, a bit of a traveller lately getting your business off the ground. I know you've been to Vietnam, a lot of countries around Asia and around the world. What have been the differences in terms of engaging with different countries, how you navigate doing business and also some of the cultural aspects?
Oh, look, Stacey, really, you have to be very prepared for every single country, and they're very culturally different. You need to have identify your partners on the ground, because you can't assume what works in China will work in Vietnam, what works in Vietnam will work in Nepal. It just doesn't translate from one country to another. I have found, well, look, for example, going into Vietnam, I did use Austrade and They were fantastic. They put together our agenda, our meetings. There was a cost involved, but it was well worth it. They set up 20 meetings for us, of which we signed up 18 channel partners.
That's incredible.
I know. And we identified new staff. We got our BDM and our country manager through connections from those meetings. So that was that was one of the best steps we had taken, getting into a country we knew nothing about. And now the Vietnamese market has shown really great growth over the last 6 months. In Nepal, we worked with the consulate office. I first went and talked to the Australian ambassador there, talked with the Nepalese consulate general, and really understanding the market before you go there. And what that taught me really was, we had the wrong product at the early stage.
Okay.
We pulled it all down and we rebuilt the whole platform based on the experience of going to those countries. So be prepared to look at a market and don't stay set in your views. If you need to change and pivot, do it quickly and do it early before it costs you too much money.
Yeah. Oh, that's great feedback, because, you really need to not just assume, you've got to get over, and getting on the ground, that's really made a difference, hasn't it?
Oh, that has made a huge difference. And you need to have local staff on the ground and local experienced staff in your market as well. And identify a couple of key partners that really can help grow your business. We've signed probably over 200 channel partners, but there's about maybe 15% of those are actually really performing for us. So you need to identify the right ones, and you do that over time. Really.
Often the Pareto principle, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So, students come here. They're a big part of the economy, as you've mentioned, the second largest, services export. But once they get here, how do we make sure that these international visitors, who many of them will have parents interested in Australia, or they're looking to travel or do other things, how do we make sure that they feel welcome and included in our culture?
Oh, that is so important, because really students that come, their parents come as well. Most students have a visitor once a year. It's huge for tourism as well.
Right.
And really we need to make them feel at home, and they need to have that experience. What we're integrating into our platform is a suite of concierge services, really to enrich the student experience.
Okay.
So services before they leave home, like orientation, understanding about Australia, about lifestyle in Australia. Their insurances, and we work with insurance companies, homestay, airport pickup and concierge services to really provide a one-stop shop like you have in, travel sites where, you can book your hotel and you can book your flight, you can book your accommodation and all the services that a student will require. Apart from that, taking into account, I suppose, the students' safety aspects, their personal safety and their happiness. And it's really important to have that onshore support for international students. Yeah,
and I know that the City of Sydney has some sort of welcome functions, and they're also looking to make sure they have a good experience. I mean, accommodation in Sydney is pretty tight, so making sure they have the right access to the right accommodation partners, and networking or communicating within. Are you doing anything in that regard?
Look, we're working with the New South Wales government actually, but I'm very keen to work with City of Sydney as well. And look, I'm looking for partners out there in Australia that really are interested in talking to us about delivering those student services that we can integrate into our platform to enrich the platform, but most importantly, really to give the students a better outcome.
And a lot of them are, not all of them, some take their newfound skills back to their home country, which is great for developing ongoing business ties. But, many are looking to get jobs here, and often with English as a second language, despite, coming up to speed. Sometimes it can be quite difficult for students to get placements here, whether they're all studying, accounting or engineering and so on. There are obviously other opportunities, particularly in agriculture. How can you help people get jobs once they've concluded their studies?
Good question, Stacey. Look, we've partnered with 2 internship companies at this stage, and I think if they get the work experience, they have a lot better chance of actually getting the jobs. They can work for 2 years full-time after they finish their bachelor degree.
As part of the visa?
As part of the visa. So that's a really strong reason for them to come to Australia. Fabulous education system, but also our work rights are very, very attractive for students. And there is a skill shortage here in Australia, so it's good to be able to match those skills with the opportunities for students.
And on your platform, if people are researching what course, what area of interest, can they see where the skill shortages are?
We're developing that actually at the moment. We're developing the skill shortages and the course matching to that, but they can access that through the government website anyway.
Yeah, look, and I think that's important because I know you're spending a whole lot of money on education and not being able to get that outcome. I mean, I guess you can buy education, but you can't buy a job, right?
That's right, yeah. But you can do your research and see what education you can study that has the best outcomes for a career. And, it's very clear that, what they study can be the career path for them.
And what's been your experience so far of how many do go back to their home country or go on to become a sort of global citizen versus stay where they've studied?
Look, it depends on the market, Stacey. A lot of Chinese students actually choose to go back home.
Right.
90% choose to go back home, probably 92% now. The other 8% may stay in Australia and end up living here permanently. From India, Nepal, Vietnam, a lot more would intend to stay here.
Okay.
They come here as genuine students, but if they have an opportunity, they will stay here.
So building alumni will be quite important. Have you looked at having that in your platform as well?
Absolutely. Look, we've partnered with the International Alumni Association in Vietnam, actually, and they're a fabulous organisation. But we've just released Study Influencer, which is a student ambassador program. So students can refer students based on their experience and get remunerated. So if there's any students out there that are entrepreneurs that would like to come and talk to me, please get in touch.
And speaking of which, what does accessing your platform, what's the cost involved?
There's no cost. Universities and colleges get all their courses listed for free. Students get access to it for free, and agents get access to it for free. We actually just get paid on successful enrolment through the platform.
Okay, and that's much more cost effective for everyone all round than some of the traditional historic models.
Absolutely, because traditionally in China there was a lot of education agents. They would charge students for counselling just on what university they wanted to study in. So we're getting away from that. It's very much transparent. Everything is transparent, and all of our stakeholders have access to that transparency.
And with your expansion, you're still looking for investors in the business, aren't you?
We are. Look, we've had a few fabulous seed funders and family and friends initially, like most startups start, and then more sophisticated investors. And we have one venture capital group, Sapien Ventures, that have invested in us. But we continue to grow our funding, and look, every day we're actually looking for more funding, really, because we're at the stage now we want to accelerate growth in Asia, and to do so we need the funding to build that.
And look, we've interviewed Victor Jung from Sapien Ventures on the program before, and I know when we've gone into, say, into Asia, into Hong Kong, Sapien Ventures is very well regarded in Asia and the US. So, tapping into the right partners is obviously critical for success.
Absolutely. And look, they specialise in online marketplaces and, enterprise software businesses. So really, Studylane investment for them made sense. They also invest in a company called Hashching, which is another online marketplace for mortgage brokers. And our business is an online marketplace really for education brokers. So very similar type of business. to see really, really significant growth in Asia.
And this is what's happening, the whole disruption of many markets. And as you say, the transparency, access to information, but the right information, I think, is quite critical. So with our SME listeners who might be interested in tapping into the markets generally or, looking specifically at some of these sectors we've talked about, what would be your sort of top tips for them?
I would say maybe start with getting your industry support, really. That's really important. And for me, I really wanted to stay true to our global vision for the company. And the global vision was really to empower students anywhere in the world, to study anywhere in the world, and really deliver that transparent information. Now, I could have changed a couple of years back to becoming a much more profitable small business, taking students, from Kathmandu into vocational colleges in Australia, and we'd be making a lot more money now, Stacey, but it wouldn't have been the model we signed up for and our investors signed up for. And I believe staying true to your vision is really important, but it can be very challenging. The other bit of advice I'd say, just learn from your mistakes. You're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Yes.
We all have made a lot of mistakes. It was nowhere like setting up my publishing business where, you got your account, you monetized it on day one. Building a global platform and going into markets you don't know is really, really challenging. And do your research. Research. There's so much help out there with research and stay focused. Focus on what matters. Sometimes you see so many opportunities that you want to go everywhere.
Easily to get distracted. Yeah.
Stay focused.
Well, that's been a great insight, Elaine. So I'm Stacey Martin, host of the Aus Asia Business Program, and today you've been listening to Elaine Starkey from Studylane and Global Study Partners on the education market, and a great online platform that you've developed. So I wish you every success. So Shasha, Elaine, and Zaijian to our listeners.
Thank you for listening to the Aus Asia Business Program with our host, Stacey Martin, our Asian business specialist and expat financial advisor. Powered by Eagle Waves Radio and broadcasting proudly from Vivo Cafe, Sydney.